How big was the room you're in?
So it was a hallway.
Just a hallway behind a glass door.
It was a hallway, yeah.
Who did you tell first?
I rang my mum. Yeah,
What did you
rang
say?
mum. I didn't say much. I couldn't really get words out at that point. It was, and poor mum, kind of, I think she's copped a few of those phone calls throughout the years. So both my brothers are served in Afghanistan, and I think when they used to call home, mum used to be on the receiving end. So I'm sure she's got a few grey hairs as a result of those phone calls. But yeah.
So you're a committed family, two brothers in the armed services, obviously.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan, and you're out there probably facing things just as dangerous at times.
Oh, I wouldn't compare the two, but most certainly, mum's probably copped a bit from her three sons.
You break down when you're talking to them?
Yeah.
Of course you do. Yeah. Have you talked to your brothers about this?
I have. Yep.
What did they say?
It was actually interesting. There's a lot of similarities in the stuff that they've been through and the stuff that I was facing, and mainly just the aftermath of the event. So going through the range of emotions that I did, having the thoughts that I did, and not just my brothers too, but even just colleagues at work. So that was one of the biggest shocking things that I found is talking to colleagues at work. We're all just normal people doing a job, and every single colleague that I've talked to listened, empathised with me, and then was further able to give me a story of a similar situation they've been through.
But this is wrong. I mean, you guys are lifesavers. It's just wrong that you go out. And look, I can understand there'll be a situation where somebody's psychotic or coming off drugs or something, but it's getting more prevalent, isn't it?
I think most certainly there's an increase in aggression and violence in general in the streets, and prominently I work around the area with the inner west and the central in CBD, and it would be unusual to have a shift where we didn't at least get verbally abused once a shift.
Why?
A range of reasons. It might be people are maybe they're emotional or they're uncertain. Most people have a fear of loss, and that fear of loss can spark a range of emotions in people, which is one of the reasons why we do try and verbally de-escalate a lot of our patients, and we're quite good at that. However, sometimes in the community, you throw on top of that maybe a group situation, you throw on top of that alcohol, drugs, it can just escalate quite quickly.
But you say you feel the streets are becoming more dangerous and more aggressive in that way. Why? Is it the drugs? Is it the alcohol? Or is it a changing attitude, a changing culture?
I think a lot of jobs we go to are fine. A lot of jobs we go to, we have pleasant experiences. It's just becoming more common that these serious incidences, such as knives being pulled, ambulances being smashed, are becoming more common. So maybe it's just an intensity in the level of aggression and violence people are demonstrating. Is that a result of drugs? Well, there is a direct link between the two. Is that the case in this situation? Look, I would have to leave that to the courts and ongoing investigations.
You told me that your partner that you were with that night has had another incident even since then. What happened?
Yeah, so obviously he was on scene and on the job with me when that the knife incident occurred. I was talking to him recently, and he said that he was in an ambulance with another paramedic where they noticed that a car was driving quite erratically, and a lady got out in the middle of the traffic and started running around looking very upset and distressed. They've activated their beacons to alert her to their presence. She's then darted over to the ambulance. He's opened the driver door, and she's literally leapt into the ambulance, over him, into the ambulance, quite distressed, quite emotional, asking for help. She's then been followed by another person who proceeded to smash the ambulance up to get to her, and they had to activate their duress button, and the police had to come down and subdue that person.
You've been off for a while because of this, understandably. Do you want to go back?
Yeah, I actually do miss my work, miss my job. I think I'm quite proactive in looking after my mental health, and it's something that I've seen the effects in other paramedics who have suffered, and it's something that I'm quite proactive with. I don't want to risk, not speaking up, and I think talking about how I'm feeling after jobs is important and helps me to recover. Going going back to work is something that is another measure in getting myself back on track. And if anything, this will be a good learning experience for me, and hopefully I can pass on to other people that I might work with, or just take from that some points for moving forward.
It'll be a challenge going back though, won't it? I mean, each job you go to, you could be, of course, you'll have in your mind the possibility of more trouble.
Yeah, yep, and that's the reality, most certainly. Work's been very good in the sense that they've given me time off. They've given me a lot of support. I've had multiple phone calls from managers. I've had good dealings with our peer support program, and all these things are kind of gearing me back up to go to work. Facing those realities once again when I get back into the job, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But sure. It's something that, will certainly influence my future management.
Why did you want to talk today?
I think the biggest thing for myself, there's a couple of points. One is it's been alarming how frequent and how normalised these experiences are becoming for me and my colleagues. So it's not uncommon to be sitting at a hospital writing a report after doing a job and have someone tell you that they've just been attacked in a gym. And just sitting here, I can think of 50 cases in my head of these instances. And it almost get the feeling where we're normalising it, and that's not acceptable. And the level of violence and aggression that we're facing is not normal, and something that needs to be spoken up about, and something that needs to be addressed. On a side note, speaking about my experience has helped me to normalise it and helped me with my recovery. And I'm looking after myself as well.
Well, you're a brave man to talk about it, to face it, and to conquering the fear of going back in itself is bravery. What about the ice issue? What about the heroin issue? Do you see a lot of it on the streets?
We encounter these drugs a lot. It's different. So we're now facing patients that are taking what we call polypharmacy overdoses, where they take a raft of different drugs at once. So it could be that they've taken alcohol throughout the day, they've then gone out and had some GHB, and they then chased it with some cocaine later on. So we're seeing a complexity in patient presentation where we typically 7 a.m. I start my shift in the city. We might get called out to a couple people in a laneway who are all unconscious. What drugs they've taken, we can have a good guess at, but there's so many in their system that we're finding it hard. Ice, as a drug that we're encountering, people can be quite violent and aggressive when we encounter these patients, and usually police will attend with those patients as a result of that and their behaviours. The heroin as in itself, we're still getting that same turnover of heroin jobs, I would say, especially in the areas that I work. Most patients go two ways. They either wake up and go, "Oh, I took too much. Sorry, guys," or they'll just tell us to get stuffed and want to go home. People are now kind of mixing the heroin with ice or other stimulants, and it is creating another challenge for us on the streets, that's for sure.
I wish you well, and thank you for doing it, because you turn up when people like me ring an ambulance and want to kiss you when you arrive rather than attack you. You're doing crucial work. Just the final question, though, with all you've described and all you've faced and all you're going through still at the moment, you are facing these things, but you're going through it. Why do you do the job?
I think I've always been passionate about working in the community, and I do a lot of work outside of ambulance in that circumstance. I get a satisfaction out of the job that I can't describe. It's a bit hard to put into words, but there's a sensation or a feeling you get when you turn up to a car accident, or even just an elderly person who's fallen over, and there's a look or a sense of relief on their face when they see you. And that moment, that feeling kind of encapsulates why I do the job.
What other community work do you do?
I do a number of volunteering with some organisations outside of work.
Well, is your mum listening?
Yeah, she probably would be, actually.
Well, she'd be proud. There's a payoff for all those tears.
Yeah. Morning, Mum.
Good on you, Ben. Thank you for coming in. All the best. Please keep in touch, and I'm sure we'll talk when you're out in the streets at some stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Neil.
Ben Dalton.
Talking Melbourne.